The Soul is Watching Everything You Do. The Hidden Witness Within by David Russo. Before anyone else knows the choices we make, there is already part of us that knows. It witnesses the kindness we offer when no one is watching, the thoughts we hide from the world, and the decisions that quietly shape who we become. We spend much of life trying to be seen by others, yet the deepest observer of our existence has always been within us. What if the soul is not merely something we possess, but a silent presence that has been watching our entire journey? Introduction. There is a question that has quietly followed humanity throughout history. Who truly knows us? Friends witness only fragments of our lives. Family sees us through the lens of relationship. Society measures our accomplishments and failures according to its own standards. Yet beneath these shifting perspectives lies another possibility, that there exists within every person an unblinking witness, silently observing every thought, intention, and action. Whether we call it the soul, the higher self, or simply conscious, this inner presence has fascinated philosophers, mystics, and seekers for thousands of years. The idea of an inner witness does not necessarily belong to any single religion or philosophy. It appears in different forms across cultures and civilizations. Some describe it as the eternal essence that survives beyond the body, while others see it as the deepest level of self-awareness that remains untouched by changing emotions and circumstances. Though the language differs, the central message is remarkably similar. There is a part of us that always knows the truth, even when we attempt to ignore it. Modern life encourages us to focus on appearances. Success is often measured by public recognition, wealth, influence, or admiration. Social media, public opinion, and external validation have become powerful forces that shape behavior. Yet, these outward measures cannot fully satisfy the quiet questions that emerge when we are alone. Did I act with integrity? Was I honest? Did I live according to my deepest values? These questions arise not from the world around us, but from something much closer to home. This book is not an argument meant to prove the existence of the soul. Instead, it is an invitation to explore an ancient and enduring idea. Whether understood as spiritual reality, psychological insight, or philosophical metaphor, the image of the soul as a silent witness encourages profound self-examination. It reminds us that every decision contributes to the person we are becoming, and that character is shaped not only by extraordinary moments, but also by ordinary choices repeated over time. As you journey through these chapters, you may discover that the greatest observer of your life has never been another person. It has always been the quiet awareness within, the presence that notices every act of kindness, every hidden motive, every regret, and every moment of courage. Learning to recognize that witness may become one of the most transformative discoveries of all. Chapter 1. The Ancient Idea of the Inner Witness. From the earliest civilizations to the present day, human beings have sensed that consciousness extends beyond ordinary thought. Ancient sages spoke of an inner observer that remains steady while emotions rise and fall like waves upon the sea. This witness does not become angry when anger appears, nor fearful when fear arrives. Instead, it quietly notices every experience without being consumed by it. Across centuries and continents, this remarkable idea has appeared in different languages, suggesting that people everywhere have recognized something enduring within themselves. In the philosophical traditions of India, The witnessing self is often described as the silent awareness that observes the changing activities of the mind. Thoughts, memories, desires, and emotions come and go, but the witness remains constant. Similarly, many Greek philosophers encouraged the practice of self-examination, believing that wisdom begins when a person honestly observes their own life. Although these traditions developed independently, both point toward the possibility that genuine understanding begins not by changing the world, but by learning to observe ourselves with clarity. Religious traditions have also embraced the image of an inner witness. Some describe the soul as a divine gift that reflects truth beyond appearances. Others teach that every intention is known even before it becomes action. While their theological explanations differ, they share a common conviction that human beings cannot completely separate themselves from their own moral awareness. The soul, in this sense, is more than a passive observer. It continually invites us toward honesty, compassion, and wisdom. Modern psychology approaches the subject from a different perspective, yet often reaches similar conclusions. Researchers have found that self-awareness plays a central role in emotional health, ethical behavior, and personal growth. People who regularly examine their motives tend to make more thoughtful decisions and build stronger relationships. Although psychology may not speak of the soul in spiritual terms, it recognizes the remarkable capacity of human beings to observe their own thoughts and actions from a reflective distance. The ancient idea of the inner witness continues to resonate because it addresses one of life's deepest questions. Who are we beneath the changing roles we play? Careers evolve, relationships change, bodies age, and circumstances shift. But the quiet observer within seems to remain. Whether understood as the soul, conscience, or higher awareness, this hidden witness invites us to live with greater authenticity. It reminds us that before we are judged by history, society, or even those closest to us, we are first known by the deepest part of ourselves, a presence that has been watching with silent honesty since the beginning of our lives. Chapter 2. Beyond the Eyes of the World. Most people become more careful when they know they are being watched. A security camera can discourage theft. A supervisor's presence can improve performance. And the opinions of friends or strangers often influence how we speak and behave. From childhood, we learn to adjust ourselves according to the expectations of others. We wear different masks in different situations, hoping to be accepted, respected, or admired. While this ability to adapt is a natural part of social life, it also raises an important question. Who are we when the audience disappears? Character is revealed most clearly in moments that no one else witnesses. Returning extra change that a cashier mistakenly gives us, speaking truthfully when lying would be easier, or offering kindness without expecting recognition are decisions that rarely make headlines. Yet these quiet choices shape us more deeply than public achievements. They are the moments in which integrity is formed, not because someone is watching, but because we choose to act according to our values. The soul, if it is indeed a silent witness, records these hidden victories just as faithfully as it notices our failures. Reputation and integrity are often confused, but they are not the same. Reputation depends on what others believe about us, and it can change overnight through rumor. misunderstanding, or shifting public opinion. Integrity, however, is rooted in something far more stable. It is the harmony between what we believe, what we say, and what we do. A person may enjoy an excellent reputation while secretly acting against their own conscience, just as another may be misunderstood despite living with honesty and compassion. The witness within is concerned not with appearances, but with authenticity. There is a quiet freedom that comes from no longer living solely for the approval of others. When our identity depends entirely on praise, criticism becomes devastating, and success never feels secure enough. But when we begin measuring our lives by the standards of our deepest values, external opinions lose some of their power. This does not mean ignoring constructive feedback or rejecting community. Rather, it means recognizing that lasting peace cannot be built upon the changing judgments of the crowd. The most meaningful approval is often the quiet confidence that comes from knowing we have acted with sincerity. Living beyond the eyes of the world is not about withdrawing from society or pretending that public responsibilities do not matter. Instead, it is about developing an inner life that remains steady whether we are applauded or overlooked. The silent witness within reminds us that every unseen act of honesty strengthens our character, and every hidden compromise leaves its mark. In the end, the person we become in private shapes the life we live in public. When integrity guides our choices, we no longer depend on being watched to do what is right, because the deepest part of ourselves has been watching all along. Chapter 3. Memory Written Beneath the Surface. Memory is often imagined as a collection of events stored within the mind. Yet, our deepest experiences cannot always be recalled with perfect clarity. Names are forgotten, conversations fade, and the details of ordinary days disappear with time. Even so, every experience leaves something behind. A single act of kindness may inspire compassion for years to come, while a painful betrayal can influence trust long after the specific moment has been forgotten. Beneath conscious memory lies a quieter record, not simply of what happened, but of how each experience shaped the person we are becoming. Many philosophical and spiritual traditions suggest that the soul preserves truths that the conscious mind cannot fully grasp. While the mind remembers facts, the soul is said to remember meaning. It carries the emotional weight of choices, the lessons learned through suffering, and the wisdom gained through love and forgiveness. This idea does not require imagining the soul as a supernatural archive. Rather, it points toward the possibility that our deepest identity is formed by experiences that continue to influence us, even when they no longer occupy our daily thoughts. Modern psychology offers a perspective that echoes this ancient insight. Much of human behavior is influenced by memories that operate below conscious awareness. Early relationships, repeated habits, and emotionally significant moments shape our beliefs about ourselves and others. A person who is encouraged in childhood may naturally approach life with confidence, while someone repeatedly criticized may struggle with self-doubt despite later successes. Although these influences often remain hidden, they continue to guide decisions, reactions, and expectations. In this sense, the past is never entirely gone. It lives quietly within us. The witnessing soul, as imagined in many traditions, does not merely collect memories like pages in a journal. Instead, it observes the ongoing story of our lives, recognizing patterns that we ourselves may overlook. It notices recurring acts of generosity, repeated moments of fear, and the gradual transformation that comes through perseverance. While individual memories may fade, the character formed through countless choices remains. Every experience contributes another thread to the fabric of who we become, weaving a life that is defined less by isolated events than by enduring patterns of thought and action. Recognizing that our lives leave lasting impressions encourages us to live with greater intention. Every conversation, every decision, every response to joy or hardship has the potential to shape our inner world. The soul's witness reminds us that nothing meaningful is ever truly wasted. Acts of compassion strengthen compassion. Honest reflection deepens wisdom. Even mistakes, when acknowledged with humility, become part of the foundation for future growth. If memory is written beneath the surface of awareness, then each day offers another opportunity to write a story marked by truth, courage, and grace. Chapter 4, Conscience. The quiet voice. Conscience is rarely loud. It does not demand attention with dramatic speeches or overpowering emotions. More often, it arrives as a gentle feeling that something is either right or wrong, even before logic has fully formed an explanation. It may appear as an unexpected sense of peace after an honest decision or as quiet discomfort following a choice that conflicts with our values. Because its voice is subtle, it is easy to ignore in a world filled with constant noise. Yet, for those who learn to listen, conscience becomes one of life's most reliable guides. Unlike fear, conscience is not driven by the desire to avoid punishment. Fear asks, what will happen if I am caught? Conscience asks, what kind of person am I becoming? This distinction is profound. A person motivated only by fear behaves well when consequences are visible, but someone guided by conscience strives to do what is right even when no reward is promised and no one else will ever know. The witnessing soul is not concerned with appearances. It responds to the sincerity of the heart and the intention behind every action. There are times when conscience challenges us in uncomfortable ways. It may encourage an apology that pride resists, honesty where deception seems easier, or forgiveness when resentment feels justified. These moments often require courage because the right path is not always the easiest one. Ignoring conscience may provide temporary relief, but over time it can create an inner conflict that becomes difficult to escape. The more frequently we silence its quiet voice, the harder it becomes to recognize it. Yet it never disappears completely. It waits patiently for the moment we are willing to listen again. Listening to conscience also requires humility. No one possesses perfect judgment, and sincere people can disagree about difficult questions. The quiet voice within is not an excuse for arrogance or self-righteousness. Instead, it calls us to examine ourselves honestly, remain open to learning, and acknowledge our mistakes when they become clear. Genuine consciousness grows stronger through reflection, compassion, and wisdom. It invites us to seek truth rather than simply defend our own opinions. When consciousness becomes a trusted companion, life begins to change in subtle but meaningful ways. Decisions are no longer based solely on convenience, popularity, or personal gain. Instead, they are measured against deeper values that bring lasting peace. The soul's witness reminds us that integrity is built one choice at a time, often through decisions that no one else ever sees. By honoring the quiet voice within, We cultivate a life marked not by perfection, but by sincerity, courage, and an enduring commitment to what is good. Chapter 5. Every choice leaves a trace. Life is often remembered through its extraordinary moments. A graduation, a wedding, the birth of a child, the start of a new career, or the loss of someone deeply loved. These milestones certainly shape us, but they are not the whole story. Between these defining events lies thousands of ordinary choices that quietly influence the direction of our lives. The decisions to be patient instead of angry, to speak honestly instead of deceptively, or to show kindness rather than indifference may seem insignificant in isolation. Yet these daily decisions accumulate over time, gradually forming the character that defines who we are. Character is not created in a single dramatic moment. It is built through repetition. Just as a river slowly carves a canyon through years of steady movement, repeated actions shape the inner landscape of the soul. A habit of gratitude changes the way a person sees the world. Consistent honesty strengthens trustworthiness. Small acts of generosity cultivate compassion until it becomes a natural part of one's identity. Likewise, repeated dishonesty, bitterness, or selfishness leaves its own marks, often so gradually that they go unnoticed until they have become deeply rooted. Every choice, however small, contributes to the person we are becoming. Many people wait for a great opportunity to demonstrate courage or integrity, believing that character is revealed only during moments of crises. In reality, the greatest tests often arrive disguised as ordinary days. Returning a lost wallet, refusing to spread harmful gossip, keeping a promise that no one else remembers, or treating a stranger with respect may never attract public recognition. Yet, these quiet moments are powerful because they reveal what guides us when there is nothing to gain. The witnessing soul notices these unseen decisions, understanding the greatness that is often hidden within simple acts of faithfulness. There is comfort in recognizing that transformation also begins with small choices. No one becomes wise, compassionate, or disciplined overnight. Lasting change rarely happens through dramatic resolutions alone. Instead, it grows through consistent effort repeated day after day. One honest conversation can begin rebuilding trust. One act of forgiveness can soften years of resentment. One decision to act with integrity can become the foundation for a lifetime of honorable living. The traces left by our choices are not fixed forever. Each new decision has the power to redirect the path ahead. If the soul bears witness to every moment, then no action is truly insignificant. The world may overlook countless quiet acts of goodness, but they still shape the inner life in profound ways. Every generous word, every patient response, every difficult truth spoken with kindness strengthens the person within. Likewise, every compromise leaves its own imprint, inviting reflection and the opportunity to choose differently next time. In the end, our destiny is not determined only by the extraordinary events that happen to us, but by the countless ordinary decisions through which we gradually become the people we choose to be. Chapter 6. Why we cannot truly hide from ourselves. Human beings possess an extraordinary ability to conceal the truth from others. We learn to smile while carrying sadness, to speak confidently while wrestling with doubt, and to present carefully crafted versions of ourselves to the world. These masks often serve practical purposes, helping us navigate social expectations and difficult circumstances. Yet, no matter how convincing our outer world appearance becomes, there remains an inner awareness that quietly recognizes the difference between appearance and reality. The soul, as the silent witness, sees beyond every mask we wear. Self-deception is perhaps the most subtle form of hiding. It rarely begins with a deliberate lie. Instead, it often grows through small compromises, excuses that soften uncomfortable truths, rationalizations that justify harmful behavior, or stories we tell ourselves to protect our pride. Over time, these habits can create a false sense of certainty, making it difficult to distinguish what is true from what is merely convenient. Although we may succeed in convincing others, the deeper part of ourselves continues to recognize what has been ignored. The quiet discomfort that follows unresolved dishonesty is often a reminder that the truth has not disappeared. It has simply been pushed beneath the surface. Facing ourselves honestly requires courage because truth is rarely simple. We all possess qualities that inspire admiration alongside weaknesses we would rather keep hidden. Pride exists besides humility, generosity beside selfishness, courage beside fear. Accepting this complexity does not diminish our worth. Instead, it allows genuine growth to begin. A person who refuses to acknowledge mistakes cannot learn from them, while someone who honestly examines their failures gains the opportunity to become wiser. The witnessing soul does not demand perfection. It invites sincerity, the willingness to see ourselves as we truly are. Honest self-examination should never become harsh self-condemnation. There is an important difference between recognizing our flaws and defining ourselves by them. Excessive guilt can trap a person in despair, while honest reflection opens the door to transformation. When we admit that we have acted wrongly, we also affirm that we are capable of choosing differently. The soul's witness is not merely a record of our failures. It is also a witness to every sincere effort to change, every apology offered, every harmful habit abandoned, and every step taken toward becoming a better person. The inability to hide from ourselves is not a burden, but a gift. It protects us from living a life built upon illusion and reminds us that authenticity is far more valuable than appearance. The world may never know our private struggles or quiet victories, but the deepest part of us does. When we stop running from the truth and begin embracing it with humility, we discover an unexpected freedom. There is peace in no longer pretending, strength in honest reflection, and hope in knowing that every day offers another opportunity to live more faithfully in harmony with the witness within. Chapter 7. Silence reveals the witness. Silence has become increasingly rare in the modern world. Our days are filled with conversations, notifications, entertainment, and an endless stream of information competing for our attention. Even when we are physically alone, our minds are often occupied by screens, schedules, or worries about the future. In the midst of this constant activity, the quiet voice of the inner witness can easily be overlooked. Yet, silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is the space in which we begin to hear ourselves with greater clarity. Many people avoid silence because it brings hidden thoughts and emotions to the surface. Unfinished grief, unresolved conflicts, lingering regrets, and unanswered questions often emerge when distractions fade away. At first, this experience can feel uncomfortable. It is easier to remain busy than to face what has been quietly waiting within us. However, avoiding silence does not make these inner realities disappear. They continue to influence our decisions, relationships, and emotional well-being until we are willing to acknowledge them with honesty. Throughout history, philosophers, spiritual teachers, and contemplatives have sought moments of stillness as a path to wisdom. They understood that the deepest insights rarely arrive during periods of constant activity. Instead, understanding often grows in quiet reflection, where the mind settles and the heart becomes more attentive. Whether through prayer, meditation, thoughtful walks in nature, or simply sitting in peaceful solitude, silence creates an opportunity to observe our thoughts without immediately reacting to them. In that gentle awareness, the witnessing soul becomes easier to recognize. Silence also teaches us to listen with compassion rather than judgment. When we observe our inner world without rushing to criticize ourselves, we begin to notice patterns that might otherwise remain hidden. We recognize recurring fears that limit our potential, habits that no longer serve us, and desires that point toward a more meaningful life. At the same time, we become aware of quiet strengths that are often overlooked. Our resilience after hardship, our capacity to forgive, and our enduring hope despite disappointment. The witness within observes all of these realities with patient honesty, inviting growth rather than condemnation. To live with greater awareness, we do not need to escape the world or abandon our responsibilities. We simply need to create moments in which silence has room to speak. Even a few minutes of intentional stillness each day can deepen self-understanding and strengthen our connection to our deepest values. In those quiet moments, we begin to realize that the soul has never stopped watching, guiding, and inviting us toward truth. The noise of life may distract us for a time, but silence gently reminds us of the presence that has been with us all along, the faithful witness within, waiting to be heard. Chapter 8, The Soul and Personal Responsibility. Responsibility is often understood as meeting obligations to family, work, or society. These commitments are important because they help communities function and relationships flourish. Yet, there is another kind of responsibility that reaches beyond external expectations. It is the responsibility we have to ourselves, to live in a way that reflects our deepest values rather than simply responding to the demands of the moment. If the soul is a silent witness to every choice we make, then responsibility becomes an inner commitment before it ever becomes an outward duty. It is easy to blame circumstances for our actions. We may point to difficult childhoods, unfair treatment, social pressures, or unfortunate events as explanations for our behavior. While these experiences undeniably shape us, they do not completely determine who we become. Every person eventually encounters moments in which a choice must be made. Those choices may not erase the past, but they influence the future. The witnessing soul reminds us that although we cannot control every circumstance, we remain responsible for how we respond to them. True freedom begins when we recognize the power of our own decisions. Personal responsibility also requires accepting the consequences of our actions with honesty. This does not mean carrying endless guilt or refusing forgiveness. Rather, it means acknowledging that our choices have real effects on ourselves and others. A harsh word can wound a relationship, just as a thoughtful act of kindness can restore hope. Every decision sends ripples outward, touching lives in ways we may never fully understand. When we accept responsibility instead of avoiding it, we become more mindful of the influence we have on the world around us. There is a profound difference between living according to rules and living according to principles. Rules often depend on external enforcement, while principles arise from internal conviction. A person guided only by rules may ask, "What is the minimum I must do?" A person guided by principle asks, "What is the right thing to do?" This shift transforms responsibility from a burden into a meaningful expression of character. The soul's witness encourages us to act not because we fear punishment or seek praise, but because integrity itself is worthy of pursuit. Living responsibly does not require perfection. Every human being makes mistakes, falls short of expectations, and faces moments of weakness. What matters is the willingness to learn, to make amends where possible, and to continue choosing what is good even after failure. The soul records not only the errors we make, but also the courage we show in correcting them. Responsibility, therefore, is not the weight of never failing. It is the ongoing practice of answering life's challenges with honesty, humility, and compassion. In doing so, we become active participants in shaping not only our destiny, but also the character that will remain long after our accomplishments have faded. Chapter 9. Healing Through Honest Reflection. Every human life contains moments of regret. We all make choices we wish we could undo, speak words we later wish we had left unspoken, and miss opportunities that never return. These experiences can become heavy burdens when they are ignored or denied. Yet they can also become the beginning of wisdom. Honest reflection allows us to face the truth of our past without becoming imprisoned by it. The witnessing soul does not ask us to erase our history. It invites us to learn from it. Reflection is different from endless self-criticism. One seeks understanding, while the other often leads to despair. A person who constantly condemns themselves may become trapped in shame, believing that past mistakes define their future. Honest reflection, however, recognizes that failure is part of the human experience. It asks not only, "What did I do wrong?" but also, "What can I learn from this?" These questions transform regret into a source of growth rather than a permanent sentence. The soul bears witness not only to our failures, but also to our willingness to rise after them. Forgiveness plays an essential role in healing. Seeking forgiveness from those we have hurt requires humility and courage. Equally important is learning to forgive ourselves when genuine repentance has led to change. Self-forgiveness does not excuse harmful actions or erase their consequences. Instead, it acknowledges that human beings are capable of transformation. Holding on to endless guilt can prevent us from becoming the very people we hope to be. The witnessing soul recognizes sincere efforts to repair what has been broken and encourages us to move forward with greater wisdom. Honest reflection also deepens compassion for others. When we become aware of our own weaknesses, we are less likely to judge others harshly for theirs. We begin to understand that every person carries invisible struggles, private disappointments, and battles that are rarely seen. This awareness softens the heart without weakening our commitment to truth. Compassion does not ignore wrongdoing, but it reminds us that every individual possesses the capacity for growth. Just as we hope to be understood beyond our worst mistakes, we can extend the same grace to those around us. Healing is not a single moment, but an ongoing journey. There will always be new lessons to learn, relationships to strengthen, and habits to refine. The soul's witness remains present through every stage of that journey, not as a relentless critic, but as a faithful companion that remembers both where we have been and who we are capable of becoming. Each honest reflection, each sincere apology, and each courageous step toward change leaves a new imprint upon the heart. In this way, healing becomes more than recovering from the past. It becomes the quiet work of becoming whole. Chapter 10. Living as though every moment matters. If the soul truly witnesses every moment of our lives, then no moment is insignificant. We often divide our experiences into important and ordinary, believing that only major events define our story. Yet the way we treat people during simple conversations, the thoughts we entertain when no one hears them, and the choices we make during everyday situations all contribute to the person we become. A meaningful life is not created only through extraordinary achievements. It is built through countless moments of awareness and intention. Living as though every moment matters does not mean living under constant pressure to be perfect. Perfection is impossible, and the pursuit of it can prevent us from appreciating the beauty of growth. Instead, this way of living invites mindfulness, the practice of being fully present with our choices, words, and actions. It encourages us to recognize that each interaction is an opportunity to express kindness, each challenge is an opportunity to develop wisdom, and each decision is a chance to align ourselves more closely with our deepest values. When we understand that our inner life matters, success begins to take on a different meaning. Achievement is no longer measured only by recognition, possessions, or status. A successful life becomes one marked by integrity, meaningful relationships, compassion, and inner peace. A person who lives honestly and treats others with dignity may leave a deeper impact than someone who gains great influence but loses connection with their own conscience. The soul's witness reminds us that the quality of our character is one of the most lasting forms of success. This awareness also changes the way we approach relationships. Every person we encounter becomes an opportunity to either strengthen or weaken the connection between human beings. A moment of patience can prevent unnecessary conflict. A word of encouragement can restore someone's hope. An act of forgiveness can heal a wound that has remained open for years. Although we may never fully understand the impact of our actions, the traces we leave in the lives of others becomes part of the legacy we create. Ultimately, living as though every moment matters is an invitation to live awake. It means recognizing that our lives are not simply a series of random events, but a continuous process of becoming. The soul watches as we struggle, learn, love, forgive, and grow. It witnesses our quiet battles and our unseen acts of goodness. Every day gives us another opportunity to choose wisdom over impulse, compassion over indifference, and authenticity over appearance. When we live with this awareness, we discover that the greatest transformation does not happen when the world is watching. It happens within the quiet places where the soul has always been present. Conclusion. Throughout human history, people have searched for answers about who they truly are beneath the surface of everyday life. We have built societies, created philosophies, explored the universe, and studied the human mind. Yet, one of the greatest mysteries remains within ourselves. The idea that the soul is watching everything we do speaks to a profound truth. Our lives are not only defined by what the world sees, but also by what happens in the hidden spaces of our hearts. Whether understood as a spiritual reality, a philosophical metaphor, or the voice of conscience, the inner witness represents the deepest awareness of who we are. The soul as a witness does not exist to create fear or constant judgment. Instead, it offers an invitation to awareness. It reminds us that every choice matters, every intention carries meaning, and every action contributes to the person we are becoming. The world may focus on appearances, achievements, and public recognition, but the inner witness looks deeper. It recognizes the honesty before our actions, the compassion behind our words, and the courage required to grow beyond our mistakes. The journey towards self-awareness is not always comfortable. It requires us to face parts of ourselves that we may prefer to ignore. It asks us to acknowledge our weaknesses, accept responsibility, and learn from experiences that have shaped us. Yet, within this honesty is the possibility of transformation. When we stop running from ourselves, we discover that reflection is not a punishment, but a path toward healing. The same inner awareness that reveals our mistakes also reveals our capacity for change. A life guided by the awareness of the soul's witness becomes a life of greater intention. We begin to understand that kindness does not need an audience to have value, that honesty does not require recognition to be meaningful, and that love does not become less powerful simply because it is unseen. The smallest choices, how we speak, how we respond, how we treat those who cannot offer us anything in return, become expressions of the person we are choosing to become. In the end, the greatest question is not whether others remember our accomplishments, our possessions, or our reputation. Those things may change with time. The deeper question is who we became while living this life. Did we choose compassion when we had the opportunity to harm? Did we choose truth when deception was easier? Did we become more aware, more loving, and more aligned with our deepest values? The soul, as the hidden witness within, reminds us that every moment is part of a larger story. It sees the struggles no one else knows, the kindness no one applauds, and the growth that happens quietly over time. If the soul truly watches every step we take, then each day becomes an opportunity to create a life of meaning, not a perfect life, but an honest one. A life shaped by wisdom, guided by compassion, and remembered not only by the world around us, but by the deepest part of ourselves that has been watching all along.